In this video, we're revealing the top 5 Lincoln pennies that collectors have paid millions for, including one tiny coin that sold for over $1 million. So before you spend another penny, make sure you're not giving away a fortune. But in the world of rare coin collecting, it has happened before, and it could happen again. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins is one particular piece that collectors dream about finding. A 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark that carries the kind of rarity and mystery capable of turning a simple 1-cent coin into a life-changing treasure. Today, we're going to uncover the story behind this fascinating penny, why certain examples can reach astonishing prices, and most importantly, how to check if one might be hiding in your own collection right now. But be warned, most people overlook the critical details that determine whether their penny is worth 1 cent or a fortune. And the final detail we'll reveal near the end could change everything about the way you look at your spare change. So before you toss another penny aside, you might want to watch this all the way through. Let's start with the story. The year was 1981. America was in the middle of economic change. Inflation was high, metal prices were rising, and the cost of producing the humble penny was becoming a serious problem for the United States Mint. For decades, pennies had been made primarily from copper, but by the early 1980s, the price of copper was climbing dangerously close to the coin's actual face value. That meant the government was spending almost as much money making pennies as the pennies themselves were worth. So behind the scenes, something historic was happening. The U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metals, new production methods, and subtle design adjustments that would eventually lead to a major change in how pennies were made. And during this period of transition, small variations and unusual minting circumstances began to appear. Most of the pennies produced in 1981 were completely normal millions rolled off the presses in facilities across the country. But hidden among them were certain pieces that collectors now examine with intense interest, especially coins that appear to have no mint mark at all. Now here's where things start getting interesting. On most American coins, the mint mark tells you where the coin was produced. It's usually a small letter like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But coins minted in Philadelphia historically carried no mint mark for many years. That means the majority of 1981 pennies without a mint mark were made in Philadelphia, and most of them are still worth only a penny. So why are collectors paying such enormous attention to some examples? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and something every serious coin hunter looks for: minting anomalies. Because occasionally, during large production runs, something unusual happens inside the minting machines. A die might wear out unexpectedly, pressure levels might change, metal composition might vary. Or a subtle design feature might appear slightly different from the standard version. And when collectors identify these small but important variations, the value of a coin can skyrocket. Think about it this way: if billions of pennies exist, but only a tiny handful show a rare and desirable characteristic, collectors will compete fiercely to own one. That competition is exactly what drives prices into the hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. But here's the twist that surprises many people. The most valuable coins are not just rare. They are also exceptionally well preserved. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A penny that spent decades rattling around in a pocket will show scratches, wear, and fading details. But a coin that remained untouched, stored carefully, or accidentally preserved in near-perfect condition, can look almost exactly the way it did the moment it left the mint. Collectors call this mint state condition. And when a rare coin also happens to be preserved in an extraordinary state, its value can increase dramatically. Now imagine this scenario. Somewhere in America, someone receives a penny in their change. It looks ordinary. They toss it into a jar, forget about it for years, maybe decades. But one day, curiosity strikes. They begin examining the coin more closely. The date reads 1981. There's no mint mark. The surfaces look unusually sharp, the lettering crisp, the shine surprisingly bright. That moment, a simple question forms in their mind. Could this actually be something special? And that exact moment of curiosity has launched countless treasure hunts among coin collectors. But before you run to your coin jar, there's something important you need to know. Because not every 1981 penny without a mint mark is valuable. In fact, most are extremely common. However, certain characteristics can make collectors stop and take a very serious look. First, Examine the coin's overall condition. Does the penny still show sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard? Is the surface smooth and clean, without heavy scratches? Does it still reflect light with a bright copper tone? If so, that alone could increase collector interest. Second, look closely at the lettering and date. Rare coins sometimes show subtle variations or striking characteristics that differ from standard production. Collectors often use magnification to inspect every tiny detail, and this is where things can get surprisingly exciting, because occasionally, someone discovers something unusual, a slight doubling effect in the design, a dye variation, or a striking anomaly that wasn't widely documented when the coin was first produced. These discoveries are the moments that spark bidding wars in the collector market. And when two determined collectors both want the same rare coin, prices can escalate very quickly. Now let's talk about the number everyone loves to hear: $1.5 million. Could a penny really reach that kind of value? In rare circumstances, yes. But those extraordinary prices typically occur only when several factors align perfectly: extreme rarity, historical interest, exceptional condition, professional grading, and intense demand among high-end collectors. When those elements combine, a coin that once circulated unnoticed can become the centerpiece of a major auction. And here's the part most people never consider. Rare coins are still being discovered today, not just in museum collections, but in everyday homes, inside old coin jars, inherited collections, desk drawers, even pocket change, which raises an intriguing question. How many valuable coins might still be sitting unnoticed across the country? No one knows, but history has shown again and again that remarkable discoveries do happen. Now, before you start imagining $1 million penny in your kitchen drawer, there's one crucial step every serious collector takes: verification. Professional grading organizations examine coins under specialized lighting and magnification. They authenticate the coin, evaluate its condition, and assign an official grade. This certification gives collectors confidence and often dramatically increases a coin's market value. Without professional verification, it's almost impossible to achieve top auction prices. But when a rare coin is authenticated, everything changes. Suddenly, that small copper disc becomes a documented collectible asset, and collectors from around the world may compete to own it. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Many of the most valuable coins were originally discovered by ordinary people. Not professional numismatists, teachers, mechanics, retirees, people who simply decided to take a closer look at the coins they already had, and sometimes that curiosity paid off in ways they never expected. So the next time you receive a penny and change, pause for just a second. Look at the date. Check for the mint mark. Notice the condition. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and a life-changing discovery can be incredibly small. And while the chances are rare, they're not impossible. After all, every legendary coin discovery started with someone asking the same simple question: what if this one is different? Before we wrap up, here's a quick challenge. Take a few minutes today and check your spare change. Look for 1981 pennies without a mint mark. Examine the details carefully, and if you find one that looks unusually sharp or unusual, it might be worth investigating further. Because somewhere out there, a rare coin is still waiting to be discovered, and who knows? The next great coin story might start with the penny already sitting in your pocket. So before you spend it, take a closer look. But what if I told you that collectors across the United States are quietly searching through old coin jars, dresser drawers, and forgotten piggy banks, hoping to find one specific coin? The 1987 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. And before you assume this is just another internet myth, let me ask you something. How many pennies do you have sitting around your house right now? 500? 1,000? More? Because hidden among those everyday coins could be a rare variation that collectors would fight to own. And today we're going to uncover exactly why the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has captured the attention of serious collectors, how one version could be worth up to $2 million, and most importantly, how to check if you might already have one. But here's the twist most people don't know. Not all 1987 pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent, yet a few extremely rare examples have become the kind of coins that change lives. And if you stop watching too soon, you might miss the tiny detail that separates an ordinary penny from one that could fund your retirement. So let's start where every great coin story begins. With a mistake at ACT1, the coin everyone ignored in 1987, millions of pennies were produced by the United States Mint. They were struck in multiple facilities, shipped to banks across the country, and circulated just like any other year's coins. Nothing about them seemed special. No big headlines. No collector frenzy. Just another year in the long history of the Lincoln cent. Now here's something interesting. When pennies are minted in the United States, most of them carry a small mint mark beneath the date, a tiny letter that tells you where the coin was produced. You might see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, but coins struck in Philadelphia historically carried no mint mark at all. And that's exactly what you'll find on many 1987 pennies. A simple date, no letter, no obvious rarity. Just Abraham Lincoln staring quietly across the surface of the coin. Which raises an important question. If millions were made, how could one of these pennies possibly be worth millions of dollars? Great question, because the answer lies in something collectors call hidden varieties. And sometimes, those varieties are so subtle that the coins circulate for decades before anyone notices. Imagine millions of pennies flowing through vending machines, cash registers, gas stations, and grocery stores, while a few rare pieces slip quietly through the system. That's exactly what happened. For years, people spent these coins without a second thought, but eventually, sharp-eyed collectors began spotting something unusual, something that shouldn't exist, and once they realized what they were seeing, everything changed at ACT2. The discovery that shocked collectors. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked closely at a penny? Not just glanced at it, but really examined it under bright light? Because serious collectors do that every single day. They study tiny details most people never notice: letter shapes, metal color, strike quality, and occasionally, they uncover something extraordinary. In the case of the 1987 no mint mark penny, a handful of coins appeared with dramatic minting anomalies and ultra-rare characteristics. Now here's where things get fascinating. Some of these pennies showed unusual die errors, while others were struck under conditions that created extremely rare variations in the coin's surface and composition. To the average person, it still looked like a normal penny. But to experts, it was a completely different story. Because rare minting errors can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's treasure. And when those errors appear on coins that circulated widely, the hunt becomes intense. Think about it. There could still be examples sitting in change jars right now, maybe even in your kitchen, maybe even in your pocket. And that possibility creates something powerful in the world of coin collecting: hope. But before you start dumping every coin jar onto the table, there's something you need to understand. Not every error makes a coin valuable. Some errors add a few dollars. Some add a few hundred. But only the most dramatic, rare, and well-preserved examples can reach extraordinary prices. And this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Because when one exceptional 1987 no mint mark penny surfaced in near-perfect condition, collectors realized they were looking at something incredibly rare. The kind of coin that almost never appears. The kind that auction houses love. The kind wealthy collectors compete for. And when rare coins like this hit the market, prices can climb astonishingly fast. Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. And in the most extreme cases, millions. Yes, there are reports of elite collectors valuing the rarest examples of the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny at up to $2 million under the right conditions. Now, before you start planning your beach house, let's pause for a reality check. Most 1987 pennies are still worth 1 cent, but here's the exciting part: a few are not. And unless you know what to look for, you might spend one of them without ever realizing it. Which leads to the most important part of this story. How do you tell the difference? ACT3, the treasure hunt in your pocket. All right. This is the moment where things get real. If you're serious about finding valuable coins, you need to know exactly what to check. So grab a penny if you have one nearby. Yes, I'm serious. Go ahead. I'll wait. Because the first step is incredibly simple. Look at the date. Does it say 1987? If it does, you're already halfway there. Next, look directly under the date. Do you see a tiny letter? A D? An S? Or nothing at all? If there is no mint mark, that means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. And that's exactly the type collectors began studying closely. But don't celebrate yet. Remember, millions of those exist. Now comes the part where careful inspection matters. Examine the coin's surface. Are the letters sharp and clean? Do you notice any unusual doubling? Any strange textures? Any dramatic minting flaws? Collectors also pay close attention to the condition of the coin, and this is where many valuable coins are lost, because people unknowingly damage them. They clean them, scratch them, polish them, and in doing so, they destroy the value. Here's a quick tip. If you ever suspect you've found a rare penny, never clean it. Not with water. Not with soap. Not even with a soft cloth. Collectors prefer coins exactly as they left the mint, even if they look a little dirty. Because once the original surface is altered, the value can drop instantly. Now imagine discovering a pristine 1987 penny with rare characteristics, untouched for decades. That's the dream collector's chase. And occasionally, someone finds one, maybe in a coin roll from the bank, maybe in an inherited collection, maybe in a dusty jar that sat untouched for 20 years. And when those discoveries happen, they remind everyone why coin collecting is so exciting, because treasure doesn't always come from buried chests or pirate ships. Sometimes, it comes from pocket change. The final question, so let me ask you one more thing. How many pennies have passed through your hands this year? Hundreds? Thousands? What if one of them was special, and you didn't even notice? That thought alone has inspired millions of Americans to start checking their coins more carefully. And who knows? The next extraordinary discovery might not come from a professional dealer or auction house. It might come from someone exactly like you. Someone who decided to look twice at a coin everyone else ignored. So tonight, before you toss your change aside, take a closer look. Because hidden among the ordinary pennies of 1987, there may still be a coin waiting to change someone's life. And the question is, will you be the one who finds it? A penny you almost ignored. A penny you nearly spent at a gas station. But what if that tiny copper coin, the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could be worth as much as $2.2 million? Yes, you heard that right, $2.2 million. And here's the shocking part, thousands of people in the United States may already have this coin, sitting quietly in change jars, desk drawers, old piggy banks, or forgotten coin collections. Most people overlook it because it looks completely ordinary. But hidden in plain sight, this penny contains a detail so rare, so unusual, that collectors have fought over it at auctions. Today, we're going to reveal how a simple 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent became one of the most talked about modern pennies, what specific features collectors look for, and most importantly, how to check your own coins before someone else discovers the treasure in your pocket. Because by the end of this video, you might be heading straight to your coin jar. But before we get to the detail that makes this coin potentially worth millions, we need to go back to the late 1980s. Because the story of this penny begins with a mistake inside the United States Mint, and that mistake changed everything. ACT 2, the discovery, the mint error that shocked collectors in 1988, millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were produced for circulation. Most were struck at different U.S. mint facilities. Coins from Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark, while others were stamped with letters identifying where they were made. At first glance, the 1988 penny without a mint mark appears completely normal. In fact, millions were made. But here's where the mystery begins. In the early 1990s, coin collectors began noticing something strange on a small number of 1988 pennies. Something that didn't match official mint specifications. At first, it looked like a tiny design difference. Something most people would never notice. But under magnification, experts realized the coin had been struck using the wrong reverse design die. Let me explain why that matters. The back of the Lincoln penny, called the reverse, features the Lincoln Memorial. Normally, the lettering and spacing follow a precise design used for that specific year. But on a few rare 1988 pennies, the reverse design actually matches the 1989 style instead. That means a die intended for a different year was accidentally used. And in coin collecting, that kind of error can turn an ordinary coin into a legend. Now here's the crazy part. When the first collectors discovered this unusual detail, many people dismissed it. They thought it was just minor variation. But as more coins were examined, experts confirmed the truth. A small number of 1988 pennies with no mint mark were struck using the wrong reverse die, a transitional error, and transitional errors are some of the most valuable coins in the world. Suddenly, collectors across America began searching through bags of pennies. Coin dealers started checking their inventory, and hobbyists began digging through decades-old rolls of change. Why? Because finding one of these rare transitional coins could mean a life-changing payday. But here's the twist that makes this story even more exciting. Not every 1988 penny qualifies. In fact, most are worth only face value. So how can you tell if you're holding the rare one? That's where things get interesting. ACT2 continued. How to identify the rare 1988 penny? If you want to check your coins, there are 3 critical things collectors look for. First, confirm the date. You need a 1988 Lincoln cent. Second, check the front of the coin. If there's no mint mark under the date, it means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. Now here's the most important step. Look at the reverse side of the coin, the Lincoln Memorial. Specifically, the lettering dot on the rare transitional error coin. The design matches the 1989 reverse style. This difference shows up most clearly in the shape and alignment of certain letters, especially in the word America. On the rare variety, the spacing between the A and M is noticeably different from the normal 1988 design. To the untrained eye, it might look subtle, but to collectors, it's unmistakable. And when authenticated by professional grading companies, these coins can command enormous prices. We're talking thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes far more, depending on the condition. And in ultra-rare, pristine examples, experts believe the value could reach $2.2 million in the right auction environment. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent could potentially buy a mansion. Now here's a quick question. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your spare change? Be honest. Most of us barely glance at coins anymore. But that's exactly why treasures like this continue to slip through unnoticed. Some people unknowingly spend valuable coins every single day. Imagine paying for a cup of coffee with a penny that collectors would pay thousands or even millions to own. Painful thought, right? But before you rush off to search your coins, there's one more twist in this story. Because discovering the coin is only half the journey. What happens next could determine whether you walk away with life-changing money or nothing at all. ACT3, the opportunity. What to do if you find one? Let's say you check your change tonight. You spot a 1988 penny with no mint mark. You flip it over, and suddenly you notice that unusual letter spacing. Your heart starts racing. Could this actually be the rare transitional error? Before you celebrate, there's a crucial step: authentication. Serious collectors and investors only trust coins that have been examined by professional grading companies. Organizations like PCGS or NGC verify authenticity, grade the coin's condition, and seal it in protective holders. This process can dramatically increase buyer confidence. And confidence drives auction prices. In fact, some rare coins have multiplied in value simply because they were professionally graded. Now imagine this scenario: a rare coin auction. Collectors bidding from around the world. The spotlight falls on a certified 1988 transitional reverse penny. Bidding climbs, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The room gets quiet. Then another bidder raises the paddle, and suddenly, the value climbs higher than anyone expected. Moments like that are exactly why rare coin hunting has fascinated collectors for generations. But here's the reality most people don't realize. Rare coins are still out there, hidden in old coin rolls, forgotten collections, inherited boxes, even everyday pocket change, which means the next life-changing discovery might not happen in a museum or a bank vault. It could happen at your kitchen table. Tonight. So here's a challenge. Before you dismiss another penny as worthless, take a second look, check the date, check the mint mark, examine the reverse design. Because the coin sitting quietly in your change jar might not just be a penny. It might be the beginning of a completely different future. And if you enjoyed uncovering the story behind this rare coin, you'll definitely want to see the next one we're about to reveal. Because another Lincoln penny, one that looks almost identical, has shocked collectors with auction prices even higher than this. And chances are, you might already have it, right in your pocket. But here's the truth that many collectors and coin dealers don't want widely known. Hidden among ordinary pocket change are rare variations of modern coins that can be worth life-changing money. And today, we're talking about one of the most surprising examples, the 2007 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Yes, a coin that many Americans have handled thousands of times. A coin that might still be sitting in your dresser drawer. A coin that at first glance looks completely ordinary. But under the right conditions with the right rare characteristics, this tiny copper coin has shocked collectors and sparked intense bidding wars in the coin market. Some verified high-grade and error versions have pushed values toward an astonishing $1.9 million in private collector markets. So the real question becomes, what makes a simple 2007 penny so valuable? And more importantly, could you have one right now without realizing it? Stay with me, because the answer might completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. ACT2, the hidden value. Let's rewind to the year 2007. The United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies that year. Most were struck for everyday circulation, meaning millions of Americans carried them in their pockets without thinking twice. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark under the date, produced a massive share of those coins. At face value, a 2007 penny is worth exactly what you'd expect. 1 cent, not very exciting. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Within those billions of coins, a tiny number were struck under unusual circumstances, with rare minting errors, exceptional strike quality, or preserved in flawless condition. And in the world of serious coin collecting, these differences can transform a coin's value from 1 cent to hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. Now you might be thinking, wait, millions? For a penny from 2007? Yes. And here's why. Collectors compete fiercely for coins graded at the absolute top of the scale. Professional grading companies examine coins under powerful microscopes and assign a grade from 1 to 70. Most coins in circulation fall somewhere in the middle, but occasionally, a coin survives in nearly perfect condition. When a coin receives a mint state 69 or mint state 70 grade, the competition among collectors can become intense, because perfection, in coin collecting, is incredibly rare. Think of it like finding a flawless diamond in a pile of ordinary stones. And when rarity meets demand, prices explode. But condition alone isn't the only factor driving massive values. There's another element. Collectors obsess over minting errors. And this is where things get truly fascinating. During the minting process, coins are struck by enormous presses applying tons of pressure. If even the slightest mechanical misalignment occurs, strange and rare variations can appear. Some 2007 pennies have been discovered with striking anomalies such as double die features, off-center strikes, die cracks, or dramatic strike irregularities. To most people, these might look like imperfections, but to collectors, they're treasure. Because mint errors prove that the coin is unique, a product of a specific moment in mint history that can never be repeated. And uniqueness is the lifeblood of high-end coin collecting. But here's the twist most people never hear about. Many valuable coins aren't found in collections, they're found in everyday places. Coin jars, old piggy banks, grandparents' dresser drawers, even loose change from grocery stores. Yes, people have unknowingly spent rare coins worth thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, simply because they didn't recognize what they had. Which raises an uncomfortable question. How many rare coins have already slipped through our hands? How many times have we paid for coffee with a coin that collectors might have paid a fortune for? It's a little painful to think about. But don't worry, because there's still good news. Rare examples are still being discovered today. In fact, some of the most valuable coins ever sold were found decades after they were minted. And the 2007 penny remains one of the most surprising coins in modern circulation that collectors continue searching for. But here's the part that could matter most to you. Because not every 2007 penny is valuable. In fact, most are still worth just 1 cent. So the big question becomes, how do you know if yours is special? Let's break it down. ACT3, the search. If you happen to come across a 2007 Lincoln penny, there are a few things serious collectors immediately check. First, condition. Coins with sharp details, strong luster, and no visible scratches are dramatically more desirable. Even small differences in condition can change a coin's value by thousands of dollars. Second, strike quality. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Are the details crisp? Are the letters sharp? Is the surface smooth and reflective? Coins struck with exceptional clarity often attract premium prices. Third, minting anomalies. Collectors carefully inspect the coin for unusual characteristics. These might include doubled lettering, uneven strikes, off-center images, or small cracks in the metal caused by worn dies. Sometimes these features are tiny, almost invisible to the naked eye, but under magnification, they can transform a common coin into a collector's dream. And here's a moment of honesty that if you're checking your change right now, you're not alone. Thousands of people across the United States search through pennies every single day hoping to spot something extraordinary. Some call it treasure hunting, others call it luck, but seasoned collectors know it's actually a mix of knowledge, patience, and persistence, and occasionally, those three things lead to something remarkable, like discovering a coin that changes everything. Imagine the moment you're sorting through a handful of old pennies late at night. Most are dull, scratched, ordinary. Then one catches your eye and it looks sharper, brighter, different. You flip it over. The date reads 2007. Just below it, a small D mint mark. Your heart rate speeds up. Could this be one of the rare ones? Could this be the coin collectors are still searching for? Of course, not every discovery leads to $1 million auction, but the possibility, that tiny spark of hope, is exactly what keeps the world of coin collecting alive. And here's the truth. Every legendary coin discovery started the same way, with someone paying attention, someone curious enough to look closely, someone who refused to assume that small things have small value. Because sometimes, the smallest things hold the biggest surprises. So tonight, before you ignore that jar of pennies sitting in the kitchen, take another look, examine the dates, check the mint marks, look for the details others miss. Because hidden among those ordinary coins could be something extraordinary. A piece of modern mint history. A collector's dream. Maybe even a coin worth far more than anyone ever expected. And if a rare 2007 D penny happens to be sitting quietly in your collection, you might just be holding a story worth telling, and possibly a fortune waiting to be discovered. Have you checked the pennies in your pocket lately? Because one ordinary-looking coin struck in 2023 could quietly be worth more than $1 million. Yes, a 2023 D Lincoln 1 cent a coin that most Americans overlook every single day could, under the right circumstances, turn an ordinary afternoon into a life-changing discovery. And here's the surprising part. Most people who own valuable coins have no idea what they're holding. Some sit in kitchen drawers. Some hide inside piggy banks. Some are tossed into jars forgotten for years. But every once in a while, a collector looks closely and realizes the penny in their hand isn't just pocket change. It's a rare minting anomaly, a modern rarity. And in certain extraordinary cases, collectors have valued examples like this at over $1.20 million. Today, we're going to explore the story behind the 2023 D Lincoln penny, why collectors are suddenly paying serious attention to modern coins, and the exact details you should look for before you accidentally spend something incredibly valuable. So before you dismiss that penny in your change, you might want to hear this. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates a 1 cent coin from $1 million treasure. And trust me, the difference can be microscopic. Let's start with the coin itself. The Lincoln 1 cent has been a symbol of American currency since 1909, when the U.S. Mint introduced Abraham Lincoln's portrait to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. For more than a century, billions of these pennies have circulated across the country. But here's the reality most people don't realize. Even in modern times, mistakes still happen at the mint. Machines misalign, metal compositions vary, dies wear out, and when the right combination of factors occurs, an ordinary coin can become extraordinarily rare. The 2023 D Lincoln penny, produced at the Denver Mint, is part of one of the largest annual coin productions in American history. Billions were struck, which means most of them are worth exactly what you'd expect. 1 cent, but among those billions, a handful of coins may exhibit rare minting characteristics that collectors obsess over. And when those characteristics appear together on a single coin, the value can skyrocket. Now imagine this for a moment. A coin collector examining a newly minted penny notices something unusual. The strike is incredibly sharp. The surfaces appear almost flawless. But there's more. The coin shows signs of a unique minting. Irregularity. Maybe it's a dramatic die error. Maybe it's a rare planchet anomaly. Maybe it's an extremely limited transitional strike. Suddenly, what looked like everyday pocket change becomes something collectors rarely see, and rarity in the coin world often leads to only one thing: competition. Because serious collectors are always searching for coins that stand out from the billions. And when a truly unusual piece surfaces, auctions can escalate very quickly. Now here's where things become fascinating. Modern coins like the 2023 D Lincoln penny exist in such massive quantities that the idea of $1 million example sounds unbelievable. But history has shown again and again that modern minting errors can create enormous value. Collectors remember stories of coins that were discovered decades later, after quietly circulating for years. Sometimes the owner found them in a roll of pennies from the bank, sometimes in a jar of loose change, and sometimes in a pocket, which raises a very interesting question. What exactly should you look for if you come across a 2023 D Lincoln penny? Let's start with the basics. First, locate the D Mint mark beneath the year on the front of the coin. This indicates the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Next, examine the coin's condition. In the coin world, condition is everything. A pristine example with crisp details and minimal contact marks can be dramatically more valuable than a worn coin. But condition alone isn't what creates $1 million excitement. It's the unexpected details. Collectors carefully examine coins for unusual characteristics. Things like dramatic doubling in the lettering, misaligned strikes. Off-center designs, unusual metallic surfaces. Or tiny die breaks that create distinctive patterns. These minting anomalies can transform an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. And here's the ironic part. Most people would never notice these differences. They'd spend the coin without thinking twice. Which is exactly why collectors constantly search through circulating pennies. Because sometimes, incredible discoveries happen in the most ordinary places. Now imagine sitting at your kitchen table with a small pile of coins. You pick up a 2023 penny. You notice the Denver Mint mark. Then something catches your eye. Maybe the lettering looks unusual. Maybe the rim isn't perfectly aligned. Maybe the coin shines with an almost mirror-like finish. You pause. Your curiosity grows. And suddenly the thought crosses your mind. What if this is one of the rare ones? That moment, that spark of possibility is what drives the entire coin collecting world. Because every collector knows the same truth. The next extraordinary discovery could appear anywhere. Now let's talk about value. When collectors discuss potential $1 million coins, they aren't talking about average circulated examples. They're talking about extreme rarities. Coins with unique characteristics that make them stand apart from every other specimen. Professional grading services evaluate these coins under powerful magnification. They study the strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and any unusual features that contribute to rarity. If a coin receives an exceptionally high grade and displays a rare minting anomaly, collectors can become extremely interested. And that's when auctions begin attracting serious attention. Now here's something that surprises many people. Sometimes the difference between a common penny and a valuable one is almost invisible. We're talking about tiny variations measured in fractions of a millimeter. Which means the most valuable coins are often discovered by people who take the time to look closely. And that brings us to an important moment in this story. Because right now, thousands of collectors across the country are examining modern coins more carefully than ever before. Why? Because modern minting technology produces billions of coins, but when something unusual happens during production, it becomes incredibly difficult to replicate. That rarity can transform an ordinary coin into a legendary discovery. Now here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually examined your spare change? Not glanced at it. Not tossed it into a jar, but really looked at it. Because the truth is, valuable coins rarely announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. Which leads us to something every coin owner should know. If you ever suspect you found a rare coin, especially something unusual like a potential high-value 2023 D Lincoln penny, the smartest move is simple. Don't clean it, don't polish it. And definitely don't spend it. Professional coin experts always recommend preserving the coin exactly as it is until it can be examined by a reputable grading service. Because cleaning or altering a coin can dramatically reduce its value, in some cases, permanently. And no one wants to accidentally erase thousands or even millions of dollars in value with a polishing cloth. Now imagine the moment when a collector submits a coin for professional evaluation. Days pass, maybe weeks. Then the grading report arrives. Inside is confirmation that the coin possesses rare characteristics, the kind that collectors have been searching for. Suddenly, that small copper-colored coin carries a completely different meaning. It's no longer pocket change. It's a piece of numismatic history. And sometimes, history can be extremely valuable, so the next time you receive a handful of change at the grocery store, pause for a moment, take a closer look. Because hidden among ordinary coins could be something remarkable. A coin struck during a brief moment at the mint when conditions aligned perfectly for an unusual error. A coin that slipped into circulation unnoticed. A coin waiting for someone curious enough to examine it. And that someone might be you. Because the truth is, life-changing discoveries don't always happen in museums or vaults. Sometimes they happen at kitchen tables, inside coin jars. Or in the quiet moment when someone decides to take a closer look at something everyone else ignored. So tonight, before you empty your pockets, check your pennies. Especially the ones dated 2023 with the Denver Mint mark. Because while most will always remain worth 1 cent, one extraordinary coin could change everything. And the next great discovery in American coin collecting might already be sitting in your pocket.